But Tangs went to Prince Andrew High School in Halifax, where he had a 4.0 GPA. He's Mensa. He is absolutely a genius. So we're going to do something called word association, all right? We're going to bring sports into it, obviously. I'm going to give you a name of a player. You are going to give me the word association. I guess we could start with Boldy. Why don't we do him first?
Boldy, the word that comes to mind with Matthew Boldy is great stick. He's got tremendous stick. You know, you think of the NHL, and, you know, I've heard the comparison from the scouts of Mark Stone, of James Van Riemsdyk, but what I see in his stick, the ability to extend play, the ability to play with reach, the quickness and the elusiveness of the way he can move his stick and be able to, you know, protect the puck, cycle the puck in the corner. That little flip that he did at the U18 was absolutely spectacular. I think that in the NHL, the comparison to Mark Stone in the way he carries his stick is evident and eminent to me. But I do believe that the one thing that he's going to have to get is skating a little bit better. He's a better skater than some of the guys that I mentioned on this list. But I think that if he wants to be that dominant force that's able to sustain, you know, puck in the corner and do all that things, if he gets his skating a little bit better, which, you know, he will by going to college, and the fact that, you know, we didn't see in the interview, but he mentioned at length that he was working extremely hard to get himself faster. I think this kid is going to be a tremendous prospect. So great stick comes to mind for Matthew Boldy.
Our next word association, let's go to Alex Newhook.
What comes to mind with Alex Newhook is surprise. Came out of nowhere. BCHL player, you know, and like Tyler Bozak, like Kyle Turris, like Scott Gomez, scored 100 points in the BCHL. But the problem that you have when you play in the BCHL is that sometimes the level of competition is a little weaker than college, than the USHL, than Junior League in Canada. So I was curious to see how he was going to play at the U18. He was spectacular for the Canadian team at U18. You know, he was tremendous with the puck, tremendous on the power play. He's got all the attributes of a guy that's going to get a letter in the NHL. So for me, the word that comes to mind when we talk about Alex Newhook is surprise, because I think that the team that's going to draft him, which is most likely going to be mid-first round at some point, maybe a little bit later in the first round, that city is going to be surprised, because this is a guy that might have a letter on your team very, very rapidly in the NHL.
Love that one. I'm going to try my best to do an accent like you. Raphael Lavoie.
Raphael Lavoie is big, and when I mean big, you know, he's a 6'4". He's that prototypical, like, power forward that you want in this game. And as we've seen the St. Louis Blues, it helps to have size. I was curious because sometimes in the Quebec League, you know, it seems to be more about skills. It doesn't seem to be as much about size as it is in the Western Hockey League, as it is in the Ontario Hockey League. So I watched him play live in Halifax in the Memorial Cup, and I was impressed. You know, he played Guelph. You know, they had big defensemen. He didn't back away. He had that sort of swagger. You know, wouldn't say it was cockiness, but it was like, come on, I'm big. I'm going to show you I'm big. I'm going to play like that. So obviously for a big guy like that, you know, there's always more time in junior than there is in the NHL. So the quickness with which he's going to be able to execute the play in the NHL is going to be crucial. But when I look at his game, the word big certainly fits him. Last
Player for you, likely number one, Jack Hughes.
Skills. What can we say about Jack Hughes that hasn't already been said? You know, the man, you know, well, I shouldn't say the man, I should say the teenager who's had all eyes on him for the last year, you know, preparing himself for this day that's happening on Friday. You know, all eyes were on him, the development, the expectations, and it didn't seem to faze him. He seems to enjoy the pressure. He wants that competitiveness. He wants to be that guy that's going to be in the spotlight. And those were the questions that I asked him. I said, when do you think you can make an impact in the NHL? You know, we've seen Austin Matthews, we've seen Elias Pettersson, we've seen Mitch Marner have impact very early in their career. And the fact that he's smaller, I wanted to see and pick his brain as to how fast he thought he was going to be able to be that point producer, be that difference maker in the NHL. And there's no doubt that with his skating ability, with the confidence and the way that he sees himself, he thinks that he can have an impact right away, and I tend to agree with him. You know, he's got that belief, and that's the most important thing you need to do to have success in the NHL.
I said last player, so I'll throw one more out. You remember I was nice to you. Keith Irizarry, word association.
Keith Irizarry, I would say NHL, baseball, man's of many trades.
I love it.